Coach Evans, heading into this season, what are you most looking forward to?
Just coaching my team. Man, I love my team. I really do. You know, as a coach, it's almost like being a teacher. Some years you have a classroom where, if you're being completely honest, you don't like all your students. You know, you teach them all, but you don't necessarily like them all. And when you like them all, you teach better. And as a coach, I think it's the same thing. I think some years you don't necessarily like the makeup of your team, but this year's team, I really enjoy coaching them. I really enjoy coaching them. So I'm just looking forward to it.
What is it that you like most about the makeup of your team this year?
Their energy, their enthusiasm, their competitiveness, and the fact that they're so close-knit together in terms of their chemistry. You know, they just got together, the third week in June? And by the second day of practice, you'd have thought they had been playing together for like 3 or 4 years. You know, I looked at my staff and I'm like, am I making this up? And they're like, no, we've never seen anything like this, just the chemistry. You know, it was completely organic because no one knew anybody. You know, and it was, you know, because when we recruited during that time, we were still involved in a pandemic. So it wasn't like we could go out and recruit people and see them in person. So you couldn't rely on energy. You couldn't rely on body language. You couldn't rely on feel because you wasn't in the room with them. So a lot of what we relied on was looking at video, phone conversations, word of mouth, and just to have it all come together the way that it did, it just makes me excited about coaching this group this year.
What do you see as one of the most important things that must happen for your team to be successful this year?
Well, obviously, the biggest thing is we got to stay healthy. You know, I think that's the one thing that every coach in the country would agree on. If you're not healthy, it doesn't matter what kind of potential you have. It doesn't matter what goals you set. You got to remain healthy. So that's one thing. And obviously, you know, some of that's not in our control. You know, we do our best to manage it, you know, from our perspective, but a lot of that's not in our control. So the first thing is we got to stay healthy. And then the second thing is we got to continue to play together like we are now. You know, it's easy to play together in September, October, because you haven't had a game yet. And the way our team is set up, you know, and we practice this way now. And I tell them all the time, you know, we're playing 10 players. We have to. Our style suggests that. That's my philosophy. So I'm looking for a solid 10. Now, does that mean we won't play more? No. We have a group of 14, and I'm not afraid to play anybody, but I'm looking for a solid 10, and I tell them that every day. And one thing that I do with my players is I'm extremely transparent with them so they know where I stand, and I tell them every single day, you're updating your resume. You know, we're trying to foster that culture of competition, and they're naturally competitive, so it works for me. That's why I love coming to practice every single day.
You talk about being healthy and playing together. Do you see anything else as potentially a big challenge for this upcoming season?
The biggest challenge for me with them is just to understand how hard you have to play every single possession. I would say that's the biggest challenge. You know, the way we play, effort is extremely important. And in some cases, effort will trump skill. So if you can play extremely hard every single possession, man, you're putting yourself in the best situation to be successful overall. And I tell them all the time, I said, no one wants to face this type of pressure for 40 minutes. But if you're not committed to applying the type of intensity and effort that's needed for this to be successful, it won't work. So the biggest challenge for me is to get them to understand how hard you have to play every single possession. And that starts in practice.
Looking at the OVC as a whole, what are your general impressions on the conference for this upcoming season?
It's a tough league, you know, from top to bottom. Belmont, obviously, you know, they're coming off a win in the NCAA tournament. Coach Brooks is a great coach. You know, he has basically his entire team coming back. So obviously, you know, they're the favorites. But I honestly think Tennessee Tech is right there. You know, I felt like they had a good chance to win it last year. Kim has done a wonderful job with that group. She has a veteran-laden group. I think she has, 5 or 6 grad transfers. So they're going to be tough to beat. You know, and obviously, you know, Coach McMillan down at Tennessee Martin has done a wonderful job for a long period of time. So I don't even know his roster, but I know him. So I know they're going to be ready. Coach at Murray State's done a phenomenal job. You know, they're bringing some great players back. So I think from top to bottom, the league, there's some parity in the league. It's from top to bottom. And there's also some unknowns because, you know, like I was saying before, during my last Zoom, Morehead State has a new coach. SIUE has a new coach. I think there's one more, if I'm not mistaken. Austin Peay. Austin Peay has a new coach, and I've been knowing Coach Young for a while. She did a great job as an assistant at Old Dominion and at Mississippi State. So you have your usual suspects, and then you have some unknowns. So I think it makes for an exciting year.